Welcome to the Live Life Well podcast for busy women. As a busy mum myself, I understand how hard it can be to look after ourselves. But hopefully this is a space for you to take time out, find connection, and get some simple takeaways to live life well, mind, body and soul. Let's jump in. Well, hello, lovelies. You are back here for another episode of the Live Life Well podcast for busy women with your host, myself, Joanne Bibby, wellness coach for busy women. And today I thought we'd just have a little chat and a little check-in and just see how you're doing. I saw today on Instagram that we have survived the 10 darkest weeks of the year. We're past them, so well done for getting so far. I think the 22nd was the end of the 10 darkest weeks. But, you know, I've realised also this week that we are still kind of in the thick of winter, aren't we? We're really only about halfway through winter, if you think about it, starting in December. And what I've really noticed is that since New Year and since the girls went back to school, I have just been trying to get stuck back into life, to work, to business, home life, kind of rushing about, trying to work lots during the day, then work till like into the evening. And I just got a bit exhausted. And I had a little chat to myself and I was like, what are you doing, Joanne? We're still in the middle of winter. Why are you trying to outpace yourself? I talk a lot about this in my coaching and in my well-being stuff that I share and in the seasonal retreats that I host. You know, winter is really not a time for rushing about and trying to crack on at the pace we maybe do, say, in summer, when we're naturally more energized and we feel our mood's better because the days are longer and lighter, we're more sociable. We just naturally have more energy in the summer. But in the winter, it's really natural to need to slow down. If we look at nature, you know, we look at the trees that they shed their leaves so that they can go inside themselves and survive the winter to come back in spring. And you see the animals hibernating, they know that they need to slow down and conserve their energy because winter is tough. It's a tough season. It's a really beautiful season as well. I've really learned to love it and embrace it a lot more since I started thinking about living seasonally. But there's no denying it. There's no getting away from the fact that it is really tough. And it's a hard season to survive and maybe even thrive through. So we need to do things a little bit differently, don't we? And part of that definitely involves slowing down. And that's a really beautiful thing, I think. You know, it's the season where we really do have the excuse to do that, to do less, to stay at home more, to rest, to hibernate a bit, to get cozy at home, get our hygge on. And that's a beautiful thing. We don't often give ourselves permission to do that the rest of the year. So that's part of what I'm really learning to embrace. And there is so much beauty in winter, isn't there? One of my favourite things are the skies in the morning and the evening, you know, like sunset and sunrise. It's so beautiful. And today was just a gorgeous, clear, crisp winter day. There's nothing like it, is there? But when it's cold and dark outside, we do use more energy just to do the things we normally do. Our body's going to have to work extra hard when they're colder, you know, when the temperature is lower. We're not getting as much daylight, we're not getting as much vitamin D. That absolutely does affect our mood, our energy, our immune system, all of those things. So we do need to take a little bit extra care in winter. So yeah, I just wanted to know really, how are you wintering? How are you finding it? I think there's a sort of pressure, isn't there? I talked about this last time, to hit the ground running in January once Christmas is over. We think when Christmas is over, we think winter's over, but actually we've still got the whole of January, February, and realistically probably a bit of March when we can still get snow. It's still quite dark and cold, where we're still really in the thick of it. And I don't know if you've read Wintering, the book by Catherine May. I read it a couple of years ago and it just absolutely transformed the way I think about how we live seasonally and really helped me give myself permission to slow down and do less in winter. But as a type 3 Enneagram, as a quite driven person who finds it really hard to slow down and rest, it's something that I constantly have to remind myself. But in the book Wintering, Catherine talks a lot about this, that when we are in the natural season of winter, or if we're in a bit of a winter in our lives in terms of loss or change or grief or illness, we really need to be kind to ourselves. And there's a few ways I wanted to share, things that I do in winter that are a bit different in terms of my well-being, things that I embrace and I'm quite intentional about in terms of how I nourish myself, in terms of how I move my body, in terms of how I look after myself. And I thought they might be helpful just to chat about those today. But I'd love to hear from you and hear how you winter and what you do differently. Or if this is something you're just sort of exploring and thinking about recently. I think it's something we're all kind of talking about and being aware of more, which is fabulous. So the first thing I do differently, there's 4 things I'm going to share today. So the first thing is that I eat a bit differently. You will absolutely know that in winter our cravings and our tastes kind of change, don't they? We naturally crave those warmer, cooked, richer foods. So it's when the slow cookers come out, isn't it? When we get our soups on, and there's all those lovely seasonal veg we can eat. It's really nice to kind of eat differently in terms of looking at what's in season in the different seasons. In winter, there's maybe not so much available. So, there's lots of veg that are in season. So all your kind of root veg, carrots and parsnips, things like that. Also, your kind of green leafy veg, which are so good for your gut health. Our gut absolutely loves green leafy veg. It's its favourite. They've got loads of fibre that they love eating, feeding the good bacteria. So things like broccoli and kale and leeks, they're all fantastic. So loads of lovely veg we can choose from in the winter. Fruit isn't so easy to come by. There's not a lot that's in season. You'll probably have noticed this if you've bought like strawberries or blueberries from the supermarket recently. They just do not taste or look good. It's because we're not really meant to eat them in winter. They do not grow naturally at this time. So they may have either been forced or kind of semi-frozen, then defrosted, and they just don't taste great. They don't last long at all. But what I think is great is frozen fruit, because it's frozen when it is in season, straight into the freezer. Fantastic for, you can do a smoothie, but you might not want something cold in winter, but making stewed fruit or like chia jam, just warming some frozen raspberries or blueberries in a pan, adding some chia seeds, a little bit of maple syrup or honey and a squeeze of lemon juice. You've got this gorgeous jam you can pop in a jar in the fridge and have that with your porridge, with your yogurt and granola, have it on sourdough. It's a really nice way to get your fruit in at this time of year when there's not a lot in season. But you can get some berries, pears, apples that aren't too bad at this time of year. And again, they are lovely stewed to have with your porridge, or, as make a crumble, make a pie. It's a bit of a treat. So just thinking about how to eat differently in the winter, because our bodies are working extra hard at this time of year, it's nice to make things that are easier to digest as well. So thinking about cooking your food well. We just don't naturally fancy salad at this time of year, do we? And that's totally normal and natural. But things like I said, like soup are amazing. Chucking some veg in a pan, cooking them with some stock and blitzing them up. That's a great way to get your veg in, and it's lovely and warm and easy to digest. But then also, like I said, getting your slow cooker out. If you're having meat, cooking it for longer so it's really tender and easy to break down and then digest. Our bodies are just working extra hard, like I said, to stay warm and stay positive and just to do what they normally have to do when it's colder and darker. So making things easier for them will mean that we're absorbing more of those lovely nutrients that we're having. That's how I eat a little bit differently in winter. And then thinking about how we move our bodies too. Like I said, we won't want to be moving and be exerting as much energy at this time of year. We naturally want to rest more, sleep more, be at home more. But it's still important to move, all year round. We need those endorphins for our physical health and our mental health. We need to move. And there's no such thing as bad weather. Some people say, like, getting out for a walk at this time of year can be lovely. Like today when it's crisp blue skies, just wrapping up in your coat and scarf and your boots and getting outside is so good for lifting our mood and getting us moving. Movement isn't just important for us to be strong and healthy, but it actually really helps our digestion too. So going out for a quick walk after lunch is a perfect time. It protects your blood sugar from spiking. It just gets those steps in, helps us process our thoughts and feelings, and just helps us get outside and get some vitamin D, to notice the seasons, to notice the beauty around us. I tend to avoid more strenuous exercise at this time of year, like HIIT workouts, running, lots of heavy weights. It's fine to do a bit of that. I still go for the odd run if I fancy it. But like today, I normally go for a run in the morning, but I thought, no, we're going for a walk instead. And that's enough, just saying that's enough, not pushing yourself too far, because this season is pretty stressful on us already. But things like stretching, yoga, Pilates, that kind of get get the blood flowing, get warmth up in our body, but aren't too strenuous. Because the more kind of strenuous exercises obviously do have health benefits, but they do add extra stress to our bodies. So I find choosing more gentle forms of exercise at this time of year is just really lovely. It means it's time of year where I don't have to push myself as much. I don't have to feel bad about that because I don't have to fight against my body. But I know I still want to move and get and feel good from that. So just choosing those more gentle forms works well for me and might well for you too. But then when spring comes and we naturally have more energy, then reintroducing things like more aerobic workouts, running, weights and things is great because they're all really important and beneficial too. So next, thinking about our self-care practices, it's actually a really lovely time of the year when it's dark outside and we don't really feel like going out to do more of those sort of self-care rituals. And actually using kind of warm water as therapy is a lovely idea. It's reasonably cheap and affordable, although it does cost a fortune to have our hot water on these days. But you know, we have it. So having like a really lovely warm shower or a warm bath with maybe some magnesium salts, which are great for rest and relaxation, for boosting your immune system, a really nice idea. Maybe it's a nice time of year to do a bit of pampering, get your face mask on, have a lovely bubble bath with a bath bomb. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's actually a really lovely thing to do for your well-being. And then sort of naturally adding that warmth to our routine then helps our bodies relax and helps us conserve our energy for the other things we need to do, like digesting, working, moving, doing all the busy things that we do. And also, if you can get to like a sauna or a steam room, that is beautiful this time of year when it's cold outside. Just warming your bones that way is a great self-care practice. But like I said, just giving yourself more permission to rest, like building more rest into your days and weeks and months over winter, having days of rest, you know, evenings of rest. I've noticed if I try and push through and work late into the evening, then I'm just absolutely exhausted. I just don't have it in me. There's just no point. I'm not going to do any good work past kind of tea time. So giving yourself permission to have more time, just downtime to like read, pick up hobbies that are relaxing. There's an idea called active rest. So picking activities that give our minds and bodies rest, but still engage us enough to stay interested. So, you know, like crochet, colouring, jigsaws, love a jigsaw. Anything like that is restful, but still interesting and, you know, keeps our attention. It's really good. It's really good for our nervous systems, good for our brains and our bodies. So it's a really nice time of year to do more of those things that we might feel kind of guilty for or beat ourselves up for in this summer when it's bright and we think we should be out doing things. Which, to be honest, we don't have to be doing it then either. We shouldn't beat ourselves up, but we kind of naturally want to be doing more, don't we, in the lighter, brighter months. But winter's a lovely time to practice more of those hobbies that kind of give us life. And lastly, I just want to talk about connection because, of course, we will be at home more during winter in our kind of hibernation mode, but it's really important not to disconnect completely and become isolated. I think that can be a temptation just to sort of say no to everything and be at home more. But then we can become sort of removed from the connection, the community, which is equally as important and beneficial to our well-being as what we eat and how we exercise. No, there's been studies, haven't there, that showed that loneliness is as harmful and as life-limiting as smoking. So we want to be careful of that. You know, absolutely don't feel bad for saying no more in the winter and being at home more. But make sure you're still prioritising those positive connections. You know, if you're going to be seeing people less, then make sure when you do see them that it's worth your while. Make sure that they're those friends and family members that make you feel good. Limit the people who drain you because life is draining enough at this time of year. But yeah, really prioritise time with those good friends that lift you up, that get you, that don't drain the life out of you. And yeah, even if it's once a week, once a month, meeting up with those friends for a hot chocolate or wrapping up and getting outside for a walk together can just really lift our spirits and our mood. And that then has lots of impact on our gut health and our immune system. When we're in connection and community, these things are all super good for us. So that's my little thoughts on wintering. I'd love to hear yours. Please pop me a message on Instagram at jo_livelifewell or respond to the podcast. I do, like I said earlier, run some gorgeous seasonal retreats with my friend Maddie, who's an amazing author and therapist. So I will pop the link to our next one in the notes. We have our spring one coming up in March, and these are gorgeous days where we get together as an amazing bunch of women and just think about the seasons, think about the state of life we're at, and think about how we want to take care of ourselves in that season. And how lovely is it when we've survived winter to get to celebrate and welcome in spring together. So if you're anywhere near Chesterfield, that's where we hold them in Derbyshire. Like I said, I'll pop the link in the comments. And if you're interested in checking those out, then that would be amazing to have you there. But yeah, please share this with anyone you think would be helpful. Subscribe if you can, just so you get notifications of future episodes. And thanks so much for being here. Keep taking care of your lovely self. Enjoy the rest of winter. And don't feel bad for a second about slowing down and taking care of your wonderful self. I will see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening today. Remember, you can subscribe and share this episode with someone that you think might find it helpful. I'd love to stay in touch. You can find me over on Instagram at JoLiveLifeWell or at livelifewellness.co.uk, where you can find all the details of my coaching courses, workshops and retreats. Remember to keep looking after you, because you are precious and worthy of feeling amazing. See you all soon.